Hey everybody, it's Paul Grossman, the Dark Arts Wizard on Twitter, and today I'm going to take another stab at that lexical analyzer. You haven't recalled on my last video, I was showing you how I was taking plain English commands inside of an Excel sheet and converting it directly into code. Well, I thought about myself and thought, if I had that glove of Thanos with all those wonderful jewels on it, I could just snap my fingers like this and convert all that text into code. Just get rid of it out of the Excel sheet and just do it as an executable line of code. ALX is my keyword command that says go and interpret everything that's inside this particular piece of string. Say is a brand new keyword that says go put it out as a self-closing dialog box. Everything else pretty much stays the same. Launch, click, enter. It's all in there. The only problem is that each one of these lines has to have two quotes where there was one quote to encapsulate multiple words, such as in please enter the valid email address here. And it's a little ugly, but let's give it a run and see how it looks. So the first thing we get is that self-closing dialog box that pops up. We're going to go and launch Chrome and use Candy Mapper to go and navigate over there. And then we're going to click on the Get in Touch button, which is actually a link. It does class switching to go find that object. And then it looks for the fields to go populate. It puts in Paul, clicks on send, verifies that please enter a valid email address was in there. Then we populate the email address and click send again, and we get thank you for your inquiry. And take a look at the bottom over here, pass. We actually had our first validation. Ain't that cool? So I was looking at this and I was thinking, you know what? All these double quotes over here, they're kind of ugly. Maybe I don't necessarily need them. So I redesigned the framework in order to identify single quotes, and that looks a lot nicer and cleaner out there. So now it's saying go click on the Get in Touch button, go click on Paul, click enter Paul into the name field, and then it looks a lot cleaner. Also, I decided to add in token replacement. So wherever I've got the word Candy Mapper listed inside of curly brackets, well, the framework goes over there and will replace it with www.candymapper.com with the URL. Okay, cool. Let's give this a run and see if that has any sort of difference on the effect there. There's our self-closing dialog box popping again. This is number 2, and this time we're going to open up in Firefox. Here comes Firefox, and it's going to navigate over to my Candy Mapper website. Click on Get in Touch, which I said was a link, not a web button. It populates Paul, puts in the email, verifies we got an error message because we clicked send without the email. Then we populate the message, and at the very end we verify that we got a thank you for your inquiry. Now, there's something I wanted to kind of point out to you. This runs pretty fast. And if you're wondering why it's running fast, it's because I've got something in there called a sync balancer. Now everybody knows that when you're working in test automation, you shouldn't use a wait statement because wait statements are just going to lock you into how long a long waiting period for your execution. However, I thought, well, wait a second, the values that you give to the wait statement, they can be dynamic. And so what I do is that if we can't find the object, it goes and executes a synchronization, which basically says wait for the page to build and go look for that object again. And then if it finds it on the second shot, it says that's great. And what it will do is that it will increase the default wait time, which is just half a second, 500 seconds, by a little bit more. So it popped it up by 10%. It went to 550 milliseconds for waiting. And then on every button after that, it will try to find it. If it can't find it, it will actually do the synchronization. But for the most part, amazingly, it's waiting only half a second more or less, and that's being adjusted. Every time it does find an object and it's valid, it actually lowers that wait time just a little bit. So it tends to make itself optimally faster and slower, and occasionally when an object has not been built on the page yet, it will do that page synchronization and wait for all the objects to appear and then go and see if it can find that object. And it does do quite a few different attempts to find objects when it's on the screen. Alright, let's go take a look at one more last run over here. The last thing was, well, I took out that say. If it doesn't say, and I know that test is not one of my keywords, it says, I assumed you just wanted to spit this out. So it will still spit out a message out there, but it does give us a little warning that says, hey, I didn't see a keyword out there, and test ain't one of those keywords. So maybe this isn't written right. Okay, cool. Give us the information that we need. We're going to now launch it in IE. wait, what are we launching? We're launching the Candy Mapper URL, right? So in this case, we're making an assumption that the previous test, whatever it went to, it's going to go to the same thing. Just launch in IE instead of Firefox this time, and go and click on the Get in Touch button. Oh wait, it doesn't say click on Get in Touch button, it just says click Get in Touch. We're assuming that this is going to be a web button, which ends up, as I said, being a link. And then we're going to enter Paul into the name. Well, wait a second, how come we don't have single quotes around this? Well, if we only have one word, we know that anything that's going to be between enter and into is going to be the data we're going to be putting into the name field. And once all this stuff gets extracted out, the only thing you got left is the name of the object that you're going to be needing. So in some cases, I don't even have to need those single quotes around them to tell it what we need to get. Now in this case, I actually did need the single quotes here because the word in is part of the words that are being extracted out when it's converting to English. It's getting rid of those prepositions, and in happens to be a preposition, so we do have to have a single quote around those out there. And then of course click send doesn't have a word on it to anything that says what it is. So again, it's a button, fields. So we've really narrowed this down. Even verify says verify thank you for your inquiry. It doesn't say that text appears. We're assuming that it's text. We're assuming it's going to be a positive run, a positive test that's supposed to show that message. And oh, by the way, that message isn't correct. It says thank you for your inquiry instead of your inquiry. So let's see if it does that. We just popped that message and said, hey, I didn't know what that keyword was. You didn't use the word say, but that's okay. And now it goes and launches Internet Explorer. Goes over to Candy Mapper. Internet Explorer is going to navigate over to my Candy Mapper website. We're going to go click on that button. That's not a button, but it's a link. Put in Paul, click on send, verify the error message appeared, populate the email, put in the message, says hello, click on the send button, verify that thank you for your inquiry did appear, except it wasn't thank you for your inquiry, it was thank you for you inquiry, and it did not exist, which gives us an error, which tells us, hey, the test had a problem. We're holding that test, and we're going to show you exactly what the results are. 5 passes, 1 failure. All right, everybody, I'm Paul Grossman, the Dark Arts Wizard. I hope you enjoyed watching this demonstration of a lexical analyzer converting plain English into code. Have yourself a great day.